Hi everybody, it's Miss Christine again, and I'm back to tell you another story about King David. Oh, except he's not a king yet. In fact, in this story, we're going to learn about how he is going to be a king. Now remember, all the stories that I'm telling you about David are out of the Bible. The Bible is God's Word, and they're true, they really happened. And it's God's message to us about who he is and how to live, and how we can have a relationship with him. There's no book in the Bible called the Book of David. So the stories of David are in 1st and 2nd Samuel, and then when he becomes a king, the stories about him are in the books of Kings and Chronicles. So today's story is from 1 Samuel 16, and there was already a king for Israel. His name was Saul. And Saul had been on the throne for quite a while, and God realized that Saul's heart had become cold and sad, and he wasn't actually loving God like he used to love God. And so God said to Samuel, his prophet, I need you to go and tell Saul that I'm going to replace him someday with a new king, and I know who that king is. And so, because prophets always obeyed God, he went to do exactly that. I'm going to try to show you the picture. Saul was the king of Israel, and there he is sitting on his throne looking very proud. And Samuel went to tell him what God had said. Samuel was sad that Saul had disobeyed God, and that God would choose another man, but that man, his love for God would be really bold. The last time Samuel had spoken to Saul, he warned him that he shouldn't bring God shame. He told him obedience is better than sacrifice, and another man is going to be the king and take your reign. Then God told Samuel to make a journey and to go to the house of Jesse in the town of Bethlehem. Now, have you heard of Bethlehem before? You know Bethlehem? Yeah, that's where Jesus was born as a little baby. Well, this new king, way before Jesus came, was going to come from this family of Jesse, and that family was from Bethlehem. Jesse was a godly man, and he had a lot of sons. When Samuel knocked on Jesse's door, his 7 sons showed up, and one by one, Jesse brought them from the oldest to the youngest in front of Samuel. But every time, God said, no, not that one. No, not that one. And Samuel thought, well, they're so handsome and they're so tall, and I think they would make good kings. And God said, no, no, no. None of these are the right one. So Samuel asked Jesse, do you have any other sons? Jesse said, well, yes, I do. I have a son who is a shepherd. God told Jesse, don't look at what they look like. And sure enough, there was another son, and he was a shepherd. His name was David, and he was out tending the sheep. And Samuel said, well, bring him to me. I want to meet this youngest son of yours. And when he got there, God said to Samuel, yes, yes, this is the one. He's the one that's going to be king after Saul. And so Samuel anointed him with oil, which is what they did when somebody was going to be a man of God and appointed for something important. He poured oil over his head as a sign that he was going to be the next king of Israel. But remember, David was still a shepherd boy, and he wasn't going to be king for a long time. But everybody knew now that this was going to be the next king.